so fly, I'm aligned with the planes. My grind so refined, I got no time for no games. Ask yourself why would I make time for you lames? At all costs, cause I'm a boss. But break them all, yeah, gotta break them all.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Prime Time with Alex Stein. I'm your host, Alejandro Stein, and we got a great show for you this evening. That's right, we got Sarah Stock. She's arguably the hottest white supremacist in the game right now. We also have alien UFO expert Nick Pope on, and then things get really spicy. That's right, we just have a little snippet of a recent interview that I did with the one, the only Dr. Stella Immanuel, who is a demonologist. I mean, well, she knows a lot about demons. She actually has a church. We'll get into that. You do not want to miss what we talk about in that interview. So we got a great show. Thank you guys for being here. Hit that like button. Hit that like button right now. Hit it. Don't hit it right now, okay? Thank you guys for being here. Make sure to leave a positive comment or a negative comment. I don't really give a damn, but just support the show. Help the pimp on a blimp. Dog, we got to get this blimp higher in the sky. Or else it's do or die. You know, the time is now, so share the show, support the show. Okay, with all that being said, let's get into it. Now, this woman is, there is a rumor that Kanye West recently cheated on Bianca Censori, I think that's how you say her last name, with this girl. She actually tells us that that is not true, so you find out all about that rumor and a lot of other rumors about this white nationalist that's half Canadian, half American. So she's a very interesting woman. Used to work for Rebel News, now she works for Elijah over at Slightly Offensive. So check out my conversation with the one, the only Sarah Stock. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Primetime with Alex Stein. I'm your host, Alejandro Stein, and we have a great guest, the one, the only Sarah Stock. She's going viral for your takedown of Sam Seder. So Sarah, welcome to Primetime with Alex Stein. How are you doing today? I'm
great. I'm super happy to be here.
Okay, well, I am happy to have you. You know, this clip, though, you know, is kind of controversial. And I looked a little bit into your background, you know, and I saw that you used to work at Rebel News. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
And now you work for Elijah. That's great. Elijah's a friend of mine. Known Elijah a long time. Elijah's a good guy. But my point is, with this clip, you say... And Sam Seder, and I'm about to play it, but we got to start off with this because, you know, I've watched it. It went viral. I think this clip that we're about to show, this one has 11 million by itself. Though you say Donald Trump is not xenophobic enough. And I hear this complaint, though, all the time. And I see what's going on in Yemen right now. And there's a lot of things I love about Donald Trump, but, you know, there are some things like going into war that I, you know, strongly disagree with. So this clip, before we even play it, has it gotten you a lot of flack from the pro-Trump side more so than the, you know, kind of like libtard side?
Honestly, not that much from the clip. I do think, though, I've said a few things on social media recently criticizing Trump. And for some reason, these people are saying that I'm punching right. And it's like, no, Trump's to the left of me. That's called punching left. And I think we should be criticizing him because he should be living up to his promises. Like, we want to see more deportations. We don't want to see increased legal immigration. We want to see that cut down, too. We want to see America. But first, we want to see less foreign wars. Like, these are all things that Trump's promised us.
No, you're right. You're right. And I see, like, you know, the fact that we're going into Yemen, you know, that does bug me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do have to admit, though, if we're going to call a spade, and we cannot argue this, and I mean, I guess, like, if I'm really going to take my, really, you know, I guess my 30,000 foot view of it all, like, I'm a fully evolved sports fan, and you probably are too. I don't know everything, but, you know, it's all fake. It's all rigged. Even Donald Trump, you know, whether we want to believe it or not, like, you know, Donald Trump is still a guy that, you know, there's still people that are unelected that call the shots that Donald Trump has to listen to, believe it or not, even though he is the elected president. So when you kind of know that, I feel like it's so much more fun to be a sports fan because I know the NFL is probably rigged. I know that the refs have been caught taking bets and in the NBA, so we know that they've influenced games. So, like, I know it's rigged, but I still like it, right? So it's kind of like politics. Like, I know Trump's not perfect, but he's still way better than them. Like, he's still a badass, right? So, I mean, where do you stand on that? Like, are we going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because Trump is not right enough. And I'm not trying to say this to come down at you, but I'm just kind of like, how are we ever going to be satisfied? You know, is that even realistic that you're really going to have this far right libertarian or anti-war person considering the military-industrial complex rules the world? Like, is Trump not enough for you, Sarah?
I mean, I like Trump. I voted for Trump. I've always liked him, but I think we should still criticize him because it kind of pressures him to be better. So I think if we fail to do that, yeah, we're always going to have the same Trump. But if he realizes that his base is upset with him, I don't know. Like, you know, it could make some change. I think that's what we're trying to do.
I agree. No, I think even though it's Donald Trump, we should definitely hold our elected officials accountable, like more so than you and I that aren't elected officials. Like, we're not held to the highest standard. But it's like, that's what I always kind of think. And I think, you know, everybody gets mad that Trump is, you know, so empathetic to Israel, but I feel like he kind of has to be. And, you know, obviously I don't like what's going on in Gaza, but after October 7th, like, if you're really paying attention, you know that conflict is not going to stop. Just, it's sad. It's a harsh reality. But America is not going to stop going to other countries and getting involved in, you know, the war in Ukraine. Like, and until America stops being the big bad bully, like, obviously we're going to be teammates with other countries. So I don't know. Like, with this clip, we'll play it. It's like, I feel like we should give Trump a little bit of slack, especially what he did with January 6th, right? We love that. You like that. He pardoned everybody on January 6th. Don't we agree on that?
Yeah, I like that. But, you know, I care about what's good for America too, right? Like, I don't think we should I don't think we should give him that much slack. He's the president of the United States. I think he can take a little bit of pushback from his base.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I feel like now he's really actually being universally loved. So he's not even getting that much pushback, which is, you know, it's actually kind of good to see, in my opinion. Okay, so let's watch this clip. Now, this one has 11 million views, and this is on Jubilee. And real quick, did you like the way Jubilee treated you? I was on a Jubilee. I did a Trump debate, debating for Trump. Obviously, I like Trump. I love Trump. But I don't know, the conditions there and stuff, I don't think they're going to have me back because I was kind of a little bit of a diva, or I was acting crazy on set. But did you like your experience filming it before you even got to speak to Sam?
Yeah,
the production
they
side?
were really nice to me. I've gone on their show twice before that. That was just the first time I went viral for it. And yeah, I'll be going on another episode soon too.
And how did they pitch it to you? They said, okay, we're going to do a 30 versus 1. Was it 30 people? How many people was it?
No, this is one of the surrounded episodes. So it was just Sam Seder in the middle, and then like 20 conservatives, and we took turns going up and debating him.
And do they tell you before, like, you're going to at least get one, you know, bite at the apple one time, or you're going to get multiple? Like, how do they kind of pitch? Because that's what I'm thinking, like, the production side. How do they pitch it to you? Because Andrew Wilson's a good friend of mine. You know, he went on there and he did Destiny. Like, I don't think he was guaranteed to even get to talk to him or something. Like, you know, how did they pitch it to you?
No, you're not guaranteed. You're going to have to like put yourself out there and be a little bit forceful to be able to talk. I actually went on one episode before where they were choosing who went up to the seat. We had to like stage it and pretend we were going on.
But they would be like, okay, now it's Sarah's turn, and then you'd raise it.
Yeah, and then other people would pretend to like try to run up. But no, it wasn't like that this time.
Okay. Well, it was legit. I like that. And how early on was this in the episode?
This was about halfway through the episode, I think. I didn't talk about the beginning. Yeah. And also, people haven't been showing the first half of my segment for some reason. But yeah, I talked about it before that too. They've just been sharing that one clip.
How many minutes were you about on the episode?
Not that long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, it's hard when there's 20 people, you know what I mean? It's almost impossible.
Well, they voted me off too, because that's how it works. If the other members of your side don't like what you're saying, they raise their flags, and once it's majority red flags, then you have to go back to your seat. So I knew as soon as I said...
you're in LA with everybody's probably gay conservatives on there.
Yeah, as soon as I said I'm a Christian nationalist, and then everyone, like, it's like almost half the people already raised their flags. And that kind of trips you out too when you're speaking, because you're like aware and you're not wanting everyone else to raise their flags. So it's like, that's why I think people were commenting that I looked super emotional and stuff. Like, yeah, obviously I'm passionate.
It kind of is emotional. I was real quick, Sarah. It is emotional because you're competing with all these other people. It's like a reality show. People don't get it. It is a little emotional and high stakes. There's cameras there. Sorry to cut you off, but like people don't realize it's a high stakes for lack of a better word.
And I had to try to get my ideas out there because I didn't want to get voted off right away because I knew a lot of these conservatives are basically liberals, right? Like some of them, they were all really upset with what I said on the show. And then it was,
Wait. Everybody that was in the circle was upset, or just more conservatives were upset? Or both?
Most of the people in the circle were upset.
Yeah, of course. After you sat down, they're probably like, who is this? This BI, you know what they were saying. They're all they're all
they were like, no, you're making us look bad.
Exactly. That's what they always say. It's like, okay, first of all, I'm not
I don't
represent
the truth.
Yeah, and this is my opinion. You know, I'm not. It's not my job to represent a whole entire political party. That's what
You're making me look bad. You're all libertarians. I don't want people to think that's what we are.
Well, I mean, and that's fair, but I'm saying I just don't even think I don't like when people are like, oh, you know, you're this one thing. They pigeonhole me on this one thing. That just happens all the time, and then they're like, oh, you make this look bad. It's like, okay, first of all, whatever I do is not. I don't represent a whole entire political party. Okay, here, let's watch this.
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
Like xenophobic nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
What is the dominant
culture? Based on European
culture?
and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White Christian.
It's rooted in European identity.
White. So your argument is that
has been the dominant culture.
Just to be clear,
and we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
Your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity of America...
For the majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah. Maybe since like the 1960s. Even then, even we had this idea of a melting pot. Literally means assimilation too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what melting means?
No, it doesn't
and
mean
now instead we're saying there's something wrong with xenophobia.
Dominant culture. No, I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. You and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice. And people, I think what you're expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Trump's basically a Democrat from 15 years ago when it comes to social issues.
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's trying to import a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're making my argument for me.
Well, that clip was viral. Obviously, you made some good points. I think that's indisputable. But at the same time, I can see why you were definitely not liked by that group. I bet the Jubilee people love you, though. They probably think you're great, don't they? They need,
made that. They made that the intro, of the video. Just me saying, "What's wrong with xenophobic nationalism?" They posted those clips all over their own stuff. They were milking that.
Have they offered to buy you a Kanye West T-shirt to wear on the next episode? Is that?
No, they haven't. But they did invite me on another episode. So
you need to. I mean, I totally stand against this. I would denounce this, and I would hope that you would get canceled and lose all future opportunities. But yeah, you should probably contact Kanye. He would probably let you wear one of those. But I don't
know if I'll do that. I don't know how.
See, that's what I'm saying.
How would Elijah feel about that?
He probably wouldn't mind it that bad, honestly. But
I wouldn't get fired. I know I wouldn't get fired, but there might be some other things that would happen.
Your bank account would be depleted, so you would have to bank in I don't even know, it's Russia. You'd have to go to a Russian bank. You'd have to call Jackson Hinkle. You'd have to bank at the same bank that Jackson does. So When you see this clip though go viral, I mean, what is like the kind of argument in the chat? That's what makes a clip go viral, really. At the end of the day, is the fact that it's kind of polarizing and it makes people have a discussion about it. So, what was the discussion that you were kind of most surprised about with this clip?
Well, it was just like entirely just different discussions from the right and from the left. The left was sharing it and being like, in 2025, some random blonde sorority girls just like an open Nazi, and they're like freaking out, losing their minds. They're like, this is Trump's America. And then from the right, they're all like, oh yeah, based queen, whatever. And they're kind of just saying that. They're
There was a lot of
based
base queen, but there had to be some of the Daily Wire types that were mad about this, right?
Well, the Daily Wire agreed with me. Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles, they were sharing it. They were commenting on it. They liked it. They were like, finally, this is like an opportunity. We're allowed to agree with her because she said it.
Yeah, that is true. Well, they're pretty intellectually honest. I know Matt Walsh is. I don't know about everybody else there. Did you see Jeremy Boring just step down? I did
see that.
Well, you're a journalist. What is the? And I saw that Andrew Tate was on. I think it was the Hodge twins, or I forget whose podcast. He was just saying that they were talking about his rivalry with Ben Shapiro, and he was saying that there was, some tension at the Daily Wire because of the handling of Brett Cooper. Allegedly, I don't know. I mean, but have you heard anything about that and him stepping down?
I really don't know. It's all rumors, I guess, right now. But yeah, it seems like Jeremy Boring, a lot of people kind of stopped liking him when, it seemed just the way it was all presented, it kind of seemed
the fairy tale. I mean, what is that about? Like, what is that seriously about? I mean,
and with Brett Cooper leaving, like, it kind of seemed like just from the outside, it was like, this is like Jeremy Boring's kicking out Brett Cooper, and we all love her. So I don't know, but it was just like an outside perspective that I don't know what's going on inside there.
Well,
but maybe that's why.
Well, I saw like Ian Carroll's video, but I still don't know why there was beef with Brett Cooper, unless it was like money or something. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But she didn't do anything. There's no controversy. Like, did she ever post anything or like anything? Maybe because she was sympathetic to Candace. Do you think that's the reason that cost her and had?
I don't know. I get like she was still friends with Candace after. I remember she responded to like one.
But so is Michael Knowles.
Yeah,
and Matt Walsh. We're just saying that. I mean, that doesn't.
I know. I feel like it's probably something else that just happened internally. That's my guess. I don't really know with Brett Cooper because she left, and it's not like she with the Candace room started talking about things she wasn't talking about before. So to me, it doesn't seem like it was as much because of her views.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's something going on. She's like quote tweeting it with like, laughing face, Jimmy.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was good. Okay, so let's talk real quick about Rebel News. Do you have sour feelings? Ezra's a good guy, but I'm sure he probably doesn't like your white nationalism take. I would guess Ezra probably doesn't love that.
Yeah, well, we left on good terms and everything, but I can imagine they probably don't like being pulled into it because
everything's saying Rebel News, Rebel News,
yeah,
Rebel
everyone's
News.
Talking now saying like, oh, this girl's with Rebel News. And I'm like, guys, I've made it clear a million times I don't work for them anymore. Yesterday, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, it's basically like the Canadian version of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
They did a hit piece article on me. They're like, former Rebel News employee defends xenophobic nationalism. And I'm just like, yeah, they're probably mad about that.
Yeah, they don't like that. Definitely, because they got a Google search alert or whatever, and then they don't like that. But I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I think there is, and don't ever take advice from me. I'm not a role model or anything, but there is a space, especially now, like you kind of see the conversation that's happening, where you can be and I don't even want to say alt-right because it's not even like that, but it is kind of like holding, conservatives accountable now that they're in power. So it's like there's almost like kind of this vacuum there's almost more, like when it was like liberals in power, when Biden's in power, we're kind of all against him. But now that Trump's in power, there needs to be kind of like it sounds terrible to call this, but like almost like a police force, or like, kind of like at least a media that does hold our side accountable. So I think that is necessary to have these conversations. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of going back to what I said earlier, when it comes down to like, is this even is this all real? Because it's not. It's fake. And is Trump really in power? Yeah, I'm sure he can do some stuff, but it's like, this is a perfect example. Obviously, I want the Epstein stuff. But I'm a 9/11 truther. I believe that the government, and they admit that they had prior knowledge, but they didn't take the threat serious enough. But don't even get me started on that. My point is, even with the 9/11 Commission report, there's 28 pages that are redacted that you get this, but that you don't get to see what those words are. So they will tell us the story and redact stuff no matter what. So it doesn't matter. Even if they've released 1 million pages of documents, all the good shit's going to be redacted. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I never fell for that when they're like, oh, we're releasing the Epstein files. They're on Pam Bondi's desk. I was like, yeah, no, they're not. Like they'll release them and like half of it's gonna be redacted. It's gonna be like the page that says like Mossad, and then it's all just like scratched out.
And it's obvious because and like whether you want to say, first of all, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, we know that he was involved with Israel, but this is the thing, is I think it's also more than Israel, though. I think that there's a lot of Americans I think a lot of people are implicated in it, but yes, obviously we look at Ghislaine Maxwell. But she's actually in jail, so I think that's kind of crazy, unless maybe she's on an island or something, maybe. But you know what I mean? Like the fact that she is alive and that she is supposedly in a jail, like it's kind of weird. You would think that if she was Mossad, right? Which I think, there's like all these like indications that she is. How is she not able to kind of get out of it, or weasel out of it, or figure out a way out? You know what I mean? I'm just surprised.
Well,
that
it might be the kind of thing like she needs to take the fall for it, but there's more people involved. So
probably. But then he dies. Like everybody knows he didn't kill himself, right? But is he really dead? Is he really alive? What do you think happened with Epstein's death, Sarah?
I don't know. I know it was super sketchy. I'm not sure. He could still be alive today. I wouldn't be surprised.
I know, like I like to think that because I'm not.
No, he didn't kill himself. I know he didn't kill himself.
Yeah,
I just don't know who took him out or if he didn't die at all.
It's like really though. Is he on an island with Tupac? Like I don't. I find that hard to believe. But I like Princess Diana. For me, I feel like they obviously killed her when she got in that car accident with Dodi Fayed. Like they went past like 13 hospitals in Paris before finally stopping at one. And it's just, she was actually supposedly allegedly pregnant with Dodi Fayed's baby, and they didn't want to like mix the, royal bloodline with his family, for different reasons. So like I feel like they can kind of if they can take out Princess Diana, they can take out anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they could have just taken him out. 'Cause, I mean, I don't think they care about like his life,
I know. I wonder why not take out Ghislaine then. Well, why not take out Ghislaine? That's kind of, I'm like,
Maybe they'll use her to falsely testify about something. I'm not sure.
Probably. So we went through Epstein. You went through. You don't like Trump. What does Trump need to do to win your favor back, so you can be you can go back to MAGA life and wear your MAGA hat?
He needs to deport more people. And
Are
also needs to.
Are you Canadian though? Are you Canadian, Sarah?
I'm American and Canadian, but I'm identifying as fully American.
Okay, I know, but what, did you get married to somebody? How did you get citizenship?
No, I was born with dual citizenship. I have one parent that's American and one that's Canadian.
Well, like the immigration thing, I agree. I'm so sick of these dang freaking Venezuelan drug dealers and all this stuff. But like, big booty Latinas should stay, Sarah. Like, if they're a woman, they don't. Why do we need? Honestly, why do we need to kick them out? What's a woman? What's a Latina woman gonna do? A housekeeper. Why do we need to kick them out?
I think they can all go. Well, they're taking other people's jobs too. If they're here illegally.
Yeah, but they do it different. They have a little different. They use a different scent at the launderia when they do your laundry. They make a different tortilla recipe. Maybe I like their cooking more than an American's cooking.
You can go to Mexico. Just go with them if you like them that much.
First of all, I go to Mexico a lot. I travel a lot. So
why do you need that here?
Because you know what you said, America with the melting pot comment. I agree that it is assimilation. Like you don't go to Japan and just start acting all American. You kind of take some Japanese culture and stuff. So I do agree with that. But
yeah, well, they're here illegally. Like we can't just let people come and stay illegally, because also that's just incentive for more people to come. They should just all go. Like that's what I think.
Every one of them, even the big booty Latinas, if they're a 9, they still should go.
Yeah.
Isn't that the biggest punishment that you could actually give to their men by taking their much beautiful women? That's what's so sad with Ukraine. All the beautiful ladies are gone out of Ukraine. Now they're just left with a bunch of disabled women.
I mean,
literally.
it's probably a little bit more sad about the men who like died in Ukraine.
Well, it's also sad. It's also sad to see a lot of the ones that are now in America doing sex work at strip clubs. You could argue that life is even more torturous than dying. So, it's not a happy situation either way. But yeah, I mean, I don't want my housekeeper kicked out. Carmen does a hell of a job. She breaks her back. Literally, she's in a back brace. She's had multiple surgeries.
So you have an illegal immigrant in a back brace doing your laundry?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not alleged. I mean, maybe. No, I mean, in a Minecraft, yeah. In Minecraft, yes, I do. Not in this universe, but in Minecraft, yes, I do. And she works very hard, and she's on Medicaid too, and she uses a lot of that.
Why
Medicaid.
is she on Medicaid? She's illegal. So you're
got on it.
So I'm paying with my taxes.
You're paying for
your illegal immigrants Medicaid.
Your taxes, my clean house. Isn't that the saying?
No, I don't think it is.
I know, but I mean,
why don't you?
know how...
I thought, okay, why did you even vote for Trump if you don't want people being deported? Isn't that the whole point?
I want some people deported, so don't misquote me. I didn't say I didn't want people deported.
Who do you want to deport?
Men of military age. Not women, not big booty Latinas especially. And if they're disgusting, they're fat cow, kick them out. Whatever, bye-bye. They need to walk. Because I've seen some of those women. They're 300 pounds. We don't need them. They have bad attitudes.
Who's going to decide like who's attractive?
A scale and a height measurement, and that BMI index. We have this down. You can just see in a visceral fat caliper thing. You could see it'd be very simple. That'd be one of the simplest things.
Okay, well, I guess I'll compromise. I'll say we'll keep the big booty Latinas if we can kick everyone else out. But Trump's not doing that either.
I don't know. He's
more focused about deporting just like international students with Palestine flags.
I know.
What he cares about.
Khalil. I know why I go to a lot of these.
It's like, yeah, you can deport them too, but why is that the priority? I don't really care about that.
You know why it's a priority.
No, I don't.
Wait,
why is it? Why do you think?
You tell me.
No, you say it.
It's because he's a danger to these college campuses and these kids are vulnerable. That's why I believe it's so important. But I actually believe everybody's right to protest. So, it's kind of a hairy situation. But if they're organizing and hurting people, I've actually been, and I'm sure you've covered a lot of these protests. But things do get hairy because it's like, these are like people that are on, and I always joke about this, but they are literally on a bunch of antidepressants. So they're like kind of like impulsive and kind of like disconnected with reality, and they're LARPing. Like they are LARPing.
No, they are. It's really cringy. They're like, we're freedom fighters. Like, what is your tent gonna do?
And the vibes are weird. Like they want something to happen, right? They're there. They're not there just to have a necessarily peaceful protest. Some people are there. I can actually see. I can be honest. I've been to so many different women stuff. There are some people that are protesting, like we need to keep this peaceful. You see that, but like there's always some sketchy person or somebody in there that wants to smoke. That wants to smoke. They're a pothead and they want to smoke. And they see me and they're like, let's smoke. And that's what they're saying. And that's what their vibrational energy is. So you have to be careful. And I go to these protests and you just never know what can happen. I feel so bad. I bring my girlfriend. Do you get attacked? Do you go to a lot of protests?
I used to go to a lot more when I worked for Rebel.
And I'm sure they would go after you too because you're like a small girl or what, or not.
Yeah, I mean, they just like yell at you and whatever.
Would you antagonize protesters or would you just go more covering it and trying to be, kind of neutral?
I like to just ask neutral questions and when I go to things like that, I don't really want them to know my view on anything. I just want to ask them kind of leading questions and get them to say interesting things.
Well, that's what everybody wants, right? You want them to say like the crazy stuff, but it's harder than it looks on TV, as they say. It is hard to go in these protests and just mix it up with like mentally deranged people, but it is sometimes. I think it's the best content though, is like protests and crazy stuff. It's a lot better than, podcasts. Everybody has a podcast, right? But not everybody can go out and get hot coffee thrown at them. But it takes a special skill, like a special form of autism to kind
of more fun though. Kind of fun, like being out in the field.
It is fun, but then you get that adrenaline dump. But before, it kind of sucks. But see, I usually go to protests and I kind of antagonize the protesters. Sometimes I've gone and not done that, and so it's always I'm always like, what am I doing? It causes me a little anxiety, but you know, it is what it is. It's interesting to mix it up with these people because they are LARPing, and so I kind of like to just press them. It's almost like when it comes to reality TV, it's the realest reality TV. You know, like even if a Hollywood movie had to hire like extras and all this stuff, they just couldn't even do it the same as going to an actual protest with people there.
I know. It's very fun. I think I remember having people like follow me up close afterwards, like trying to like stalk me when I'm leaving and stuff. It's like kind of scary.
What's the weirdest thing since this video has been viral? Because I saw you've gained how many Twitter followers you've gained? Thousands, right?
Yeah, I had almost 40,000 before, and then now I'm at like 85,000. A lot of people were like saying I'm completely astroturf, like I came out of nowhere, whatever. It's like, no, like I already had like some followers, and then I had a viral video.
Everybody's gonna say that because nobody can see somebody else.
No one pays attention, but then some people were already following me before, and that's part of the reason why it went viral too. Is because like I had all these mutuals who are like, oh, that's Sarah, and they shared it.
Yeah, that definitely helps when bigger accounts share it. That is like the main thing to go viral. But when you get like almost double your followers, that's really good. Of course, they're gonna say though you're astroturf. Like that's everybody. Like that's this stuff with Ian Carroll though is blowing my mind. Like the amount of hate that he's getting because he got on Joe Rogan by so many people that obviously look so jealous. I'm like, why are you tweeting about? It
really does reak of jealousy.
It's so jealous. People are like, I've been doing this for so many years. Okay, so what? The guy's viral and people like his content.
You
like,
weren't doing a good enough job.
And it's not even, it really, this is the thing. It's like, I watch these like people that have like huge, like, do you ever see that like chef reactions? That guy reacts to like food. Sometimes he kind of like bashes. I'm just saying, well, you've probably seen it in your feed. My point is there's so many different forms of content. Like Ian Carroll is like so big because he's talking about this form of content. People can't stand it, but it's like really Ian Carroll in the grand like scheme of things, like, he's just not somebody to hate, there's everybody's doing it. Everybody's trying to make a living.
Guy.
Yeah, he said, well, first of all, it seems like but there's like so many people that make worse content, better content, whatever you want to say, but it's like, well, they're just, the fact that they're so mad at Ian Carroll because he's successful, like that's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he says some controversial stuff, but that's also why people like him too, because nobody wants to say controversial stuff. So it's like that simple, people like him because he says stuff that makes you mad. So you getting mad is kind of feeding into it. Like Misfit Patriot guy is going crazy. I just was looking at your timeline.
Don't get me started.
I know, I follow him. He's so funny. I need to interview him.
He posted something today, and he was like almost crying, and he was like, I never get emotional, but like I can't believe there's people out there who aren't Zionists and stuff.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Why are you like crying in your car because like some people aren't Zionists?
Do you think he's getting paid by like an NGO, a Jewish NGO? I mean, that's
I don't know. Like he could. I think it's kind of overblown. Like a lot of people are getting paid, but it's also pretty realistic. Someone like him, like he's probably Jewish, and it's just like close to his heart.
Yeah, it is close to his heart. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think actually, Mr. Patriot, he's crazy online. He's a newer guy. I don't know how long I've been following, but just over the past like 6 months, ever since his Bryson Gray fight, he's been in my timeline every day, and that was insane too. Bryson's a friend of mine. That was
didn't he? Am I right? Did he punch him at Amfest in the face?
Yeah, I think.
Right, yeah, and then they wrestled.
I don't even know who landed. Let me pull up the fight right now. That's how we'll end the show.
That was funny. That was crazy. Punching someone in the face at a conservative convention.
Trust me, a lot crazier stuff than that happens. Like a Misfit Patriot. But actually, really, when it comes to fighting, I've never actually seen a fight at a conservative thing. So I'm downplaying it. Actually, that is actually a big deal now that I'm thinking about it.
Imagine just witnessing that at Amfest, though.
Fighting Bryson Gray. I mean, actually, I have to admit, that is probably the craziest thing I've seen there. I've seen arguments. Okay, here it is. Okay, let's pull it up. Oh, wow. This is so funny.
And I remember it was like an hour later. And Lord Loomer and Milo were like screaming at each other.
I know, I saw that.
It was like all happening at the same time.
That was crazy. I saw that live. Okay, so I didn't know who Misfit Patriot is really. I had like no idea, but I know who Bryson is.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's see. You can hear that? You can hear it?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I don't know if any of them land a punch. Okay, it looks like he kind of landed something right there. Like, looks like he kind of throws a right. Let's see. He kind of jabs. He Misfit Patriot kind of jabs, and he throws a right. I don't know if he lands anything, and that looks like Bryson's hand right there. So that's like a nothing burger. Okay, so he did land two. He kind of landed. Those didn't look like hard shots. So Bryson's on his butt, so he kind of tackles him. That's one punch on the back. And then his left hand kind of goes to his face a little bit. So he hit him twice. And Bryson's getting up. Now he tackles him. Okay, oh shoot. Okay, he doesn't tackle him. Let's play this. Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty strong. What do you think about that, Sarah?
Yeah, I remember one of them kicked the other in the...
I think this happens right now. Here, let's see. So Bryson got the hardest punch. Oh, that's the second hardest punch. That's the third hardest punch. See, those punches weren't good. Wow. And then this is what Misfit Patriot says. It's a street fight. He does have a point, though. I'm not even trying to... I'm simping for Misfit Patriot. I can't believe it. And Bryson's my friend. It's not cool to kick somebody in the balls, but they are wrestling in the, damn concrete in the hot desert. I mean, I don't know. This isn't exactly a UFC fight in the ring. You know what I mean? I feel like that is possible that you get kicked in the dick.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty ghetto. I feel like you still probably shouldn't do that, though.
I agree, but,
Not really fair.
Anything can happen. Oh, wow. So he hits him good there. He hits him strong there. See, I can't even tell where he hits him in the groin area. Like, did he punch him? Wait, hold on. Let's go slow. See, it didn't even seem like he hit him, does it, Sarah? I mean, I don't know. It may look small on the screen.
Kind of hard to tell because it's small right now, but I remember watching it and it looked like he did.
See, I don't even know if he gets hit in the groin. I don't know. Well, it was a cringe fight, but it was funny. God bless both of them. I hope they're both doing well. We love Bryson. And Misfit Patriot, everybody should go follow him because he is so unhinged on Twitter. It's actually very entertaining. Okay, Sarah, before we go, tell the people, how can they find you and how can they support you?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, Sarah C. Stock. And then I'm on Instagram too, sarah.stock.politics. And you can read my articles, watch my content. I'll be sharing all that on Twitter.
And what other podcasts are you going? Have you been on I'm sure you've been on the Whatever podcast?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I'm not going back there because I know
they work. I mean, Brian does work hard, but I don't know how you can convince girls to sit there for like 6 hours.
It was kind of boring. I don't really want to. It's
a long show. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a long show.
No food, and you're sitting there, and you just have to listen to like these OnlyFans girls talk about degenerate things. It's just like, I don't want to be here.
Andrew Wilson's crushing it, though. He is on top. I was at the debate con.
He does a good job, but I just don't really like that content that much because, like, there's only a certain, like, number of times you can talk about, like, oh, rate yourself from 1 to 10. It's like, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only complaint. They get great clips, but a 6-hour show, like, there's no way. I mean, I'm sure they do have fans that watch it backwards to forwards. I mean,
like, who's watching it? Like, every single day they watch 7-hour long.
7 hours, like. I can't watch anything for 7 hours, but hey, listen, they're crushing it. And Andrew Wilson, a friend of mine, he's crushing it. All right, everybody go follow Sarah. She's almost to 90K subscribers. Help her get to 100K. And she's going to come back to the MAGA side. Do you like RFK making stuff healthy?
Yeah, I mean, not that much is happening.
What about the measles vaccine? Did you get the measles vaccine? I went and got it.
I didn't get anything. I've never got a vaccine.
I got it. I got the measles. I didn't even need it, and I got it just because I want to do my part.
Oh, okay. I'm not doing that. But good for you.
Your loss. I got like 2-for-1 coupons for a steak and shake, non-seed oil, French fries, and a burger. So it was worth it. All right. Thank you, guys. Peace.
Thank you.
Well, that was an interview for the ages. I hope she gets canceled and not me, because I do not agree with anything that she said. And I love Israel, and it is the greatest country on earth. And America is number 2, in my opinion. But what I do think is important is our next guest. Our next guest, guys, is, excuse me, I guess I get choked up because he reminds me of my biological stepfather, Tucker Carlson, in the fact that this guy has been on Tucker's show over 15 times. That's right, Tucker Carlson loves our next guest, Nick Pope. He personally co-signed and said this guy's a real deal. So we're about to drop some UFO knowledge on your candy ass. Are you ready for that? And if you're not, you better get ready, because I don't want you to leave. So hit that like button, hit it. I see you in the chat, you chat rats. Remember, April 27th, we got a freaking Las Vegas meetup. You guys want to be there. You don't want to miss it. You're going to have major FOMO. We'll be staying at the Rio Hotel. So, and we might see some UFOs out in the Vegas desert. You never know. Nevada's a crazy place. Area 51, Area 99. How about that? Okay, so with all that being said, find out the truth about Ancient Aliens. You saw this guy. He was on Ancient Aliens, the popular TV show. He's also written multiple best-selling books, and he is also my biological stepfather's favorite UFOologist, or one of his top favorites, I believe, is how he was described. But neither here nor there. Find out the truth about aliens with our next guest, Nick Pope. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Primetime with Alex Stein, and we have a very special guest. That's right, this guy, he's an Ministry of Defense, for the British Army, for the British government. I can't believe he's a UFO expert, and the fact that he's even on this show, it's an honor and a privilege. The one, the only Nick Pope. Nick, how are you doing, my friend?
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, because right now, UFOs, I don't know if you know this, but my biological stepfather, Tucker Carlson, he's a bit of a UFO fan. I'm a UFO fan. And I always kind of wonder, like, what is real, what is fake? I grew up with X-Files, where I feel like, just my personal opinion when it comes to, extraterrestrials, I feel like they're probably here, hiding on Earth. They can, like, hide in the ocean. But I also believe that it's like truth in the movies, lies in the news. So the fact that you always see these movies about aliens, it makes me feel like there are aliens. So, Nick, what's the deal? Are UFOs real or fake, Nick?
Oh, they're definitely real. And by the way, I should say that Tucker had me on his show probably 13 or 14 times. So, I know all about... Oh,
you're really good friends. Wait, Nick, I feel so bad. I've been on 3 times. Wow, Nick, you're even closer. He let me open up for him in Fort Worth when he did the Dickies Arena. Isn't Tucker the best guy ever? Let's talk about Tucker for 1 second. Isn't Tucker Carlson the best guy in the world, Nick?
He is great. And like I say, I've been on his show multiple times. And then we did a fun thing. I'm one of the regular contributors on Ancient Aliens. So we flipped it around and I interviewed him for that show.
Oh, wow. And then, he loves UFOs and he's gotten me into it. I mean, I've always been into it. But it's like, this is the other thing. This. You're in the Ministry of Defense. How much is the government trying to distract us and lie to us and keep us in the dark? You know what I mean? Because there's this game they play where it's like they'll give us information. Why not just tell us aliens are real? Or why kind of, sneak it in, like all of a sudden there's congressional talk about aliens? Why this dance like this, Nick?
Well, I think you're right to ask that, because if it was easy, we would have done it by now. And it seems that some people have been sitting on this secret for around 80 years. So therefore, it seems to me there must be something very, very hard about doing this, about telling the people. And that makes me think maybe there is a dark side to this, what I call a secret too terrible to be told. But the good news is, of course, it is slowly but surely coming out. We've had hearings in Congress. There's more to come. And I'm really excited by this new task force on the declassification of federal secrets. They're going to be looking at things like JFK, some other issues, but definitely they're going to be looking at UAP as well.
Well, your work with the Ministry of Defense, working in the British government, I mean, can you give me just a little background in what the Ministry of Defense and how that's different than MI6, and, kind of how is the structure of the British government and their military secret CIA counterpart?
Well, I was a civilian employee of the UK Ministry of Defence for 21 years, and that's essentially the equivalent of the DOD here in the US. MI5 and MI6, they are basically part of the intelligence community. And although I had some contacts with them over the years on other issues, I didn't really deal with them on the whole UAP question. So that's the broad equivalence. And the Ministry of Defence is, of course, a policy-making Department of State, but it also serves as the UK's highest military headquarters. So, like I say, I was a civilian employee, 21 years, 3 years of that, I was handling the UFO issue, or UAP as we call it in government.
Okay, well, tell me this, though, Nick. You know, you've exposed a lot of this. What has it... Tell me the negative repercussions that you faced speaking out about this topic.
Well, I think that there haven't been too many, but when I first started discussing this, I was a little bit of a lone voice in the wilderness because I went public some time ago, and I'm very careful to make this clear. I'm not a whistleblower. I mean, I will never disclose classified information without lawful authority, but the British government has been slowly but surely declassifying some material on this, including, of course, a lot of the case files that I worked on, which is why I can speak out. But for years, I was really the only one. And it's only much more recently in the US that we've had people like Lou Elizondo, David Grush, Jay Stratton, Travis Taylor, other people who've been involved in US programs coming forward and speaking out. So it was difficult at first, but now finally I feel firstly a bit of vindication, and secondly there are these great people who've got more recent experience than myself over this. So it's like a shared burden.
Well, and then, Nick, you are basically considered probably one of the top UFOologists, or I guess in the industry. You've been on television, you've been interviewed by Tucker. So for you, it has been successful. So I like to hear that. I just feel like with anything talking about these subjects, aliens, and it gets into religion, and it gets into this, it is a very controversial topic, even though people might not think that from the outside looking in. So I'm empathetic to the people that didn't, believe you at first, but now, like I said, you're incredibly successful doing this, and have written multiple books. So I think it is awesome that you're able to speak about these taboo subjects. But I guess now it's not so taboo. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. I look at these pyramids in Egypt, and they align with the how they perfectly match up with the stars, and just the idea that our ancestors were stupider than us. That just kind of makes me feel. That just makes me feel silly to think that these people that built these great things that we can't even build today, to call them stupid. So, what is the timeline of our universe to you in civilization, in your opinion, Nick? I know you don't know this, but what is the origin of humans? Are we an alien creation?
Well, maybe I mentioned this kind of secret too terrible to be told. Maybe that's the secret. I don't know. Of course, I don't know that. But there's no getting away from the fact that in a universe nearly 14 billion years old, there might be civilizations out there 1 billion years ahead of us. And if you think that we've come from, say, horse and buggy to stealth fighter and space probe in just a couple of 100 years, what might a civilization 1 billion years ahead of us look like? And if they'd visited us in the past, yeah, sure, we would have probably, our ancestors would probably have misperceived them as gods, worshipped them as gods, and maybe, like you say, our ancestors were super smart, built these amazing monuments to commemorate those visits.
Well, what do you think about, I think it was Ronald Reagan in his address, I believe, talking about the only way to truly unite the nation would be from an existential alien threat. Are you familiar with him saying that?
Yes, this was his speech to the UN Security Council. And he said, I occasionally wonder how quickly we would put aside our differences if we faced some alien threat from beyond this earth. Yeah, very, very well-known speech. And of course, a lot of people said, is he trying to tell us something? And of course, he had his own UFO sighting, as had President Carter. So there are some interesting hints. And of course, you see this very theme. You started off by mentioning science fiction and some of this being kind of brought out to people, maybe slowly drip fed to people through sci-fi movies. It's a central theme in movies like Independence Day. Humanity comes together against this alien threat.
Well, but is this now this is what the question that I was trying to kind of propose, but and it is a positive thing in the way that Reagan was using it, but is it also a negative thing? Do you think that governments would use this to make us under one global ruler? Would this be the final, like how they kind of had the pandemic, and they kind of got us all together, would they use an alien force to create almost a one world government? Is that a possibility, Nick, or am I just smoking too much marijuana?
No, a lot of people have speculated. There is even a plan, a code name for this. People talk about Project Bluebeam. Yeah. And Project Bluebeam is apparently what you've pretty much just outlined. The idea is that just as after 9/11 we had like the Patriot Act, if the deep state could somehow fake an alien invasion through some sort of mixture of Hollywood special effects, an intelligence community psyop, something like that. If they could fake an alien invasion, then the deep state might find a way to take away the last of our freedoms with a sort of space patriot act. And I know things like this sound far-fetched, but when you look at how this subject has come out of the fringe and into the mainstream in the last few years, to the point that we have multiple UAP provisions in every one of the recent National Defense Authorization Acts, it makes one wonder.
It does make one wonder, and it just kind of begs the question of, would the government use it? I'm sure they have other tricks up their sleeves on ways to get us into a globally united, NATO or UN. But I feel like there's always going to be countries that fight back. At least I hope there are. But I do think that if there was an alien invasion, all of these kind of small countries would be like, well, no, we should join with America, or we should join with Russia, or however it would work in order to protect their citizens. So I guess people might think we sound crazy, but I do believe there is a possibility that this could happen.
Well, look how quickly, I don't know whether we can even mention this, but look how quickly during the pandemic, many of our freedoms that we take for granted were just taken away. And suddenly we were just told all these sound bites like, your freedoms don't matter in a pandemic. When the point was that's actually because of government overreach when they matter most. So if they can do that for a pandemic, which was hardly an unanticipated event. We'd had them before, we'll have them again.
SARS, MERS, I always say that. See, Nick, you're so smart. We act like and this makes me so mad, we've had respiratory illnesses that are very serious in the recent history. But sorry, go ahead. I started to cut you off. It just makes me so mad. People act like COVID was this new thing. We've literally had respiratory MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, where we've had this years before. So I just get frustrated with the people that are watching this that might not realize this. I think even though COVID may have been created in a lab, whatever, I'm just saying we've had respiratory illnesses. We've had forms and strands of this for years. But sorry, go ahead.
But this is important and relevant because it speaks directly to the UAP issue because of the connections between government secrecy, deep state control, and what the people actually should be doing. My last film, which is being strangled by algorithm, by the way, is called Apocalypse COVID, and it's about the overreach during the pandemic. And I mean, for example, even the New York Times, who peddled more COVID panic porn than almost any media outlet on the planet, ran a piece during the pandemic where they said a child was statistically more likely to die in a car crash on the way to school than of COVID caught at school. So the clues were out there all along. And yet a lot of the population just allowed themselves to be herded along like sheep. And, you'll be locked down, fine. You'll be masked up, fine. You'll be, compulsorily vaccinated, fine. And it's only afterwards now that we're saying, wait a minute, they told us people got cancelled. Sorry, I'm having a rant here, but why not?
No, go, please. No, please. The floor is yours.
cancelled and deplatformed for even saying things like Sweden or natural immunity or lab leak. And now, if you go onto the website of the Director of National Intelligence, we find that most of the intelligence agencies are coming around to the fact that it probably was a lab leak. Yet you were, if you said so during the pandemic, you were labeled as this crazy MAGA nut job.
Yeah, and what's crazy with it is New York Times, I believe, just this week, or excuse me, last week, wrote that they got it all wrong, and so but that's what the media can do. That's why they print retractions. They don't have to print the truth, and they put the headlines on the front page and the retractions a week later on the back page, and so they don't really care if they get it wrong. And the pandemic it really changed the whole trajectory of, I guess, my lifetime, all of our lifetimes, but. When you talk about Apocalypse COVID and you talk about the algorithm, it's so hard, but is that on YouTube?
Yeah, the trailer is on YouTube and the film itself is certainly on Amazon Prime. We're struggling to get it out. Our first distributor pulled out after a risk assessment meeting. And I've had a couple of really top tier podcasters say to me, if we even mention the C word, the monetization goes down, and they, whether it's by algorithm or by woke employee or some kind of combination, any mention of anything like that gets you labeled as either medical misinformation or conspiracy content, and it's just dishonest.
Yeah, you would think that the whole point, and I know YouTube's not going to agree, that we have kind of our own social media network. Like, that is the public square. That's why Twitter is so great now that Elon, lets us speak freely. But I also have my questions. I really do appreciate Elon, and I talk positive about him. But I also have some stuff. I'm like, is it good? What do you think about the transhumanist agenda? Do you think that is good to have a computer, plugged into your brain where you potentially could use, if you had your arm blown off or something, you could control your arm? Like that, in theory, sounds good. But also the misuse of it, I feel like could get bad when you start combining computers and humans. What is your opinion on this?
Well, this is where my government background comes in handy, I think, with a question like that, because I was always told to think of almost every situation through the twin lenses of threat and opportunity. And I think you put the kind of your finger on it when you basically said, yeah, if you're just thinking about it in philosophical terms and you ask, would it be a good idea to blend biological with post-biological life and go down this road to transhumanism, cyborgs, AI, and things like that, you might think, whoa, that's a bit of a risk. But if you then have an accident and you're paralyzed and Elon comes along and says, hey, I've got this thing called Neuralink, it might, a bit more work on this and we'll get you up and about again, I think, you'd leap at the chance. So I think there are both threats and opportunities. But I'm a great Elon fan, actually, firstly for rescuing X, but secondly, just for what he's doing in terms of trying to push the boundaries, whether it's going to Mars and becoming multiplanetary, or whether it's giving us back freedom of speech.
Yeah, I think both are actually very important. But
I say that one of the reasons I say that is my wife is the professor who got cancelled for saying that skeletons were either male or female, and then
wait, time out. So they did a geological whatever, and they could tell. I thought that was already proven that you can look at bones. So your wife got canceled. I thought that was just accepted science that you can tell the difference in bone samples whether it was a male or female.
You would think so, and for many, many years it was, until it wasn't. But you know what I mean. Everything's kind of gone crazy now.
But real quick, I know because of wokeness, but why would a scientist not want to identify whether it was a male or female when looking at artifacts of bones? I don't understand why does wokeness come? So they want to make it seem like there was no genders. I'm just I'm almost confused on their motivation on why that would even be a cancelable offense. Like what agenda are they trying to create that we're just the same technically? Is that what their message that they're trying to?
It's all presentational. The groups like the American Anthropological Association said that any academic presentation which talked about skeletons as being binary could cause their LGBTQ plus members to feel unsafe.
Wow.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
this is ridiculous. And then, I mean, your wife being an educator, I mean, that's the worst place. I go and I speak at a lot of these college campuses, and the college kids are actually pretty good. And half the time they're coming out of a class that they were just studying a subject. They know stuff more than me most of the time. But when I talk about like the woke, and I always use this as a cliche, but whatever, woke mind virus or wokeness or whatever it is on the college campus, because most of these kids don't get radicalized at all in high school. They're probably just figuring out their life. But then college, you have free time, you are smoking pot, you're drinking, you're trying new stuff. It's just a new time of exploration. So it's able to get radicalized. And I think that's kind of the programming that is so bad, is because of the universities, the kids that actually go to college get brainwashed. So as your wife obviously has to agree with that statement, right?
Yes, I mean, she actually sued her own university. Then she had to get out of that environment, and she was with a think tank for a while in New York City, and now is professor emeritus. But she still writes on these issues, and it's, in some ways you would think that it's getting better, but in some sense they're doubling down on some of it, and it's getting worse. So in anthropology, for example, at the moment, there's a move where you can't even use photographs of skeletons or bones in the academic journals. You might get a line drawing in. I'm going to let you and Elizabeth have this discussion. I think that would be fascinating.
Yeah, I would definitely love to talk to her about the wokeness in universities. We got to set that up. That would be a privilege of mine. And okay, real quick, I only have you for so much longer because I know you're so busy, though. So tell us, what is, in your discoveries, what is the threat? I mean, we talk about this, like, I don't know, lack of a better word, you just see a flying thing in the sky. Should we be worried? I mean, you say everybody's kind of seen an alien threat. I'm worried about Project Bluebeam. They're going to scare us with it. Should we be scared of these aliens, or are they our friends, in your opinion, Nick?
Almost impossible to tell, but just again, from a defense and national security point of view, if there is, and the data says that there is, something in our airspace faster than us, more maneuverable than us, capable of more rapid accelerations than even the cutting edge of our aviation technology. And this thing is being not only seen by the pilots, but tracked on radar, filmed on forward-looking infrared cameras, picked up on satellites. If all that's going on, and it makes our like Navy Top Gun pilots and all that tech look like kids' toys, then absolutely we should be concerned. And that's why, to be fair, on a bipartisan basis, in Congress, in the Senate and the House, in the Armed Services Committees, the Intelligence Committees, the Oversight Committees, people are getting worried about this.
And you've talked about this a lot, and I am a little worried about aliens. Not that worried, but what I am worried, I see all these videos of these Ukrainians and Russians dying from these drones. They have these little drones, they look like they're a $100 drone that you could just get it, on Amazon or something, and they have bombs to them. And then I know you spoke a lot about these huge drones off the, on the coast of New Jersey. So what's going on? I mean, I'm kind of more worried about the government using drones. What kind of threat are those to us, Nick?
They're a huge threat, not least because the things that we see on the TV news are probably like 5-10 years behind what DARPA and some of the geniuses in our government, but also, of course, and this is the point, in Russia and in China. And China in particular may be ahead of us with things like AI-controlled drone swarms. And that is a real concern to anyone interested in sort of warfighting doctrine questions. So yeah, it's absolutely a huge question and a big concern.
No, it is very scary too, because you see how they don't even have to do a fireworks show. They can just make the drones, make like a dragon in the sky. And so I can imagine that they can be strapped with weapons or incendiaries or whatever, accelerants, and then flown into buildings. I mean, we've seen it used obviously in this Ukraine war. So I don't know, it's very scary to think about a drone coming over my house. I don't know how it would stop that and blowing me up. And now Walmart, literally in Plano, is dropping off damn packages with drones now. I'm not even kidding you, Nick. They just, a video just went viral. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I really should pull it up. Maybe we'll add it in post. somebody ordered a 2-liter Sunkist. That's what they ordered. They used a drone. I'm just saying they flew the drone to their house just to order one 2-liter Sunkist. It just looks so stupid. I'm like, this is what we need drones for. But okay, now let's get into a little bit of, and I know you don't know this, but they say that if human beings, if we lived long enough, that at one point somehow we'd all become the same race and potentially the same gender. So if you had to speculate, if these, and this is what they say, they theorize this. I don't know if that's possible, but these alien species, if they've been here billions of years and stuff, do you think that they could potentially be like that? They've just fully evolved to their final form where they are this almost genderless, ethnically ambiguous being.
That's possible. I mean, in an infinite universe, I'm going to kind of give the cheat answer and say almost anything's possible. Everything's possible. I think what's even more likely, though, is that we might be dealing with a post-biological intelligence, just because we know that from kind of the first observations, the physiological effects on human beings of traveling in space are very difficult to deal with, whether it's kind of loss in bone density through being in zero gravity, or whether it's even the psychological aspect. So for interstellar travel, where you would be talking about unimaginable distances and time periods, really, mainly, perhaps it is only robots, humaniform robots, but implanted with artificial intelligence that could make journeys like that. And so one day I like to think that our AI traveling out into space will meet extraterrestrial AI coming to visit us.
That sounds scary as hell, Nick, and you say it with a smile. Can you imagine? And you are probably right, because how else would these things be able to travel these, light years unless they were basically robots? That's kind of scary to think about. And, I was at the Johnson Space Center recently, and they showed us this building. They're like, that's building 11. What's going on in that building is right now they're doing a Mars simulation. And it's not even really about like the science of what to do on Mars, but it's the isolation. They feel they said that when the astronauts go in there, they feel as if they are in Mars. They feel like they're totally isolated, can't talk, yada yada yada. And they even said, and I was like, the tour guide saying this, they've said they've had multiple issues with multiple astronauts not being able to handle it during the training, which makes sense. I don't know why. Maybe they just tell us that. I don't know. He's allowed to say that he's a tour guide at NASA. I was kind of surprised, but that makes sense. Like, can you imagine actually traveling? How scary that would be, even with 2 other people to Mars? Like that is nightmare fuel. So I and the Johnson Space Center also had a huge exhibit about how robots are going to be doing all of our space travel, and the idea that humans are going to be able to go to Mars and build stuff. It's almost impossible. We'd have to send robots first to build the stuff, and then we'd go. So yeah, I mean, thinking about it in that sense, that we're going to have AI intelligence, robots that live forever as long as there's energy, I guess, or maybe I don't know. They live forever, and then they communicate with these other robots with different AI that we created. That will keep me up at night, Nick. I mean, okay. So before we go, Nick, can you tell the people how can they find you and how can they support you? I know you're well known, Ancient Aliens, Tucker's friend, but how can people support you, Nick?
My website is nickpope.net. That has links to, for example, the various books that I've mentioned. If you agree on COVID, please support Apocalypse COVID by buying it off Amazon Prime or wherever. We're trying to get it out to other platforms, but it's a struggle. And my X, which is the social media platform on which I'm most active, and I put most of my breaking news, that is at Nick Pope, MOD.
Okay, and everybody needs to go follow that. So now I like to ask a few hard questions before we go. Okay, 9/11, obviously, if you know about the COVID lie, I believe, and this is the official story, so we're not that out of bounds, that Condoleezza Rice and George Bush were briefed by the FBI that there was a guy that was planning to fly planes into buildings. His name was Osama bin Laden. He was in Afghanistan. And the official story is that they didn't take the threat serious enough, and that a guy in a cave was able to defeat the greatest military or biggest military on Earth. For me, that story doesn't add up. You look at Tower 7, looks weird the way that it imploded. So what is your opinion on the terror attacks that happened on September 11th, 2001, Nick?
I'm not what I would call a real deep conspiracy theorist on that. I think clearly there were information sharing issues. But that's, I think, sometimes more bureaucracy than conspiracy. But we know that, for example, FBI had information that would have helped CIA and vice versa. But just because these organizations didn't, and still to some extent don't talk to each other enough, everyone was sitting on information that might have been used to stop it. I think everyone knew that Osama bin Laden existed and was planning something, but people underestimated him. That doesn't mean I think it's a conspiracy, but I think hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we should have done more.
Okay, well, that's a very fair answer, very politically correct, I might say. Okay, now, Nick, now this one, because I'm always so respectful to our guests, and this one, even when I talk to the UFO people and you talk to these people, they get so mad about this subject. But and Tucker even, he disagrees with me on this. When you look at the footage from the 1969, Apollo moon landing, it just, to me, is laughable. And then forget about that. Forget about like Gus Grissom. He was the original guy that was supposed to go to space. Our first guy to go to the moon. He died on the launch pad, but he actually hung a lemon on the lunar lander. And then like you just look at the press conference of the astronauts after they just created the greatest human achievement possible. We traveled to a star and landed on it and took samples. I mean, it is you see people win a district championship in a high school basketball game. They're yelling, they're screaming. These people, literally accomplished a feat that is bigger than 100 Super Bowls combined. And they look like their dog had just passed away or got ran over by a car. So I just think it's laughable that we went there, but we can't currently go there with Elon's, rockets. What about this? Am I a kook for saying that they lied and they did it as a space race, considering Russia was farther advanced in space technology? And I think for every 20 hours that a United States astronaut had, we actually just learned this, a Russian astronaut had 100 hours of space time. So they had 5 times the amount of space time. Yet we were able to go to the moon and they weren't. So what do you think about the moon landing, real or fake?
I'm going to disagree on this. I'm going to say real. And I've looked into some of the ideas. I've looked into, for example, the geology of the moon rocks, where it does seem to be that they really did come from the moon because they're exposed to cosmic rays and radiation that we are not exposed to here because of the protection of the atmosphere. So just like if you buy a meteorite, you need to be able to scientifically check that it's not just some rock that someone's selling you from their backyard. There are ways to say that those moon rocks did come from the moon. Plus, they left a big kind of mirror up there when they went that you can fire a laser at and it comes back to measure the distance. And interesting point about the demeanor of the astronauts. I only met one of the 12 people who actually went to the moon, and that was Edgar Mitchell. And I would say, and he was deeply and profoundly affected by going into space and seeing Earth from space. And I think that's kind of the answer to the question why the astronauts looked a bit shell-shocked, because they were profoundly and deeply moved and somehow changed by this. So I'm going to say we did go.
I love it, but I just have to do one quick rebuttal. Well, I mean, because I don't want to have a debate. But everybody always says this. MIT was able to shoot lasers off the moon in 1959. They were the first people to do it before we ever went to the moon. And then on top of the space rocks, you can actually, Wernher von Braun, the Nazi that created the space program from Operation Paperclip, he actually used to go to Antarctica, and that moon rocks actually have been here on Earth. There's rocks from the moon have landed on Earth, so it is possible to get moon rocks without going to the moon. But that's neither here nor there. We don't have to have the debate. I really appreciate you, Nick, coming on. You're such a great guy, and for making time. And I know you're very busy, and would love to talk to your wife sometime. And I'm so appreciative of the work that you've done exposing the COVID narrative. Sadly, I don't think that we're ever going to get any sort of vengeance. Not that I want it, but I guess I want the truth. That's what I would like. I would like the truth. Not even necessarily some huge apology, but just, we were wrong. This is the truth. Well, you were right. And then, we can move on.
An apology would be nice. They stole 2 years of our lives, and let's try and learn some lessons from that.
Yes, we should. And Nick, everybody needs to go follow you on X as well. We'll put the links in the description. Thank you so much, my friend. I know you're in sunny Arizona right now. Is it warm? What's the temperature like in Arizona right now?
It is. Yeah, it's in the 70s, and we've got days in the 80s and even a 90 coming up soon.
Well, you know, I'm in Dallas, and right now the weather's perfect. It's never this nice. And now already I'm looking at my, Apple Watch. It's going to be 80 tomorrow. So it's just, before I know it, it's going to be 100 degrees. So it's just, that's, I know, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. I'm not here to complain. I've only lived here my whole life and act like I'm surprised every time it gets hot. All right, guys, everybody go follow Nick Pope. Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate it. And everybody, have a good one. Peace. Aliens are real, dog, and welcome back to this universe, the Pimp on a Blimp. I am Primetime 99, and we are about to really get into things. I know with Nick, we kept it actually kind of light. We talked about aliens, but we didn't really get into demons. But with our next guest, Dr. Stella Immanuel, I can't even say her name because I'm so freaked out because I feel like the Holy Ghost is maybe, on me right now. That's right, Stella Immanuel. She was canceled for speaking out about COVID-19, but we're not going to actually get into that because if you talk about that, you would get canceled on YouTube. So if you want to see this full, uncensored, insane interview and the truth about the pandemic, you can watch that on BlazeTV, and you can subscribe by going to blazetv.com/primetime. Please go there and subscribe. I believe it is 99 cents right now to subscribe for first-time subscribers. So go show the Pimp on a Blimp some love and go watch this whole interview because we get into some dark stuff. I'm talking about demonic stuff, Hillary Clinton, drinking blood, all of the bad things that we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, we talk about with Dr. Stella Immanuel. So hear this little excerpt from the interview. It's just a snippet, but things get weird with the doctor. So I know you're going to enjoy this, but if you want to see the whole thing, you want the whole freaking, if you want the premium ingredients, the premium sauce, you got to upgrade. And you do that by going to blazetv.com/primetime. So watch a little snippet. You don't want to miss it. Check out Dr. Stella. I can't even say her dang name. Sorry, Stella. Dr. Stella Immanuel.
And you've spoken out against masturbation. So why is masturbation bad, Dr. Immanuel?
It's a spiritual thing. You know that sex is a spiritual thing. If you read in the Bible as a Christian, sex is a spiritual thing. Where coming together with a man and a woman is God's ultimate way to show how he is going to take human beings to himself. So sex is a spiritual thing. That is why you can have sex with somebody years after they are messing up your mind. You think about them.
That's true.
They go crazy because it's a spiritual thing. So when you're having anything that is spiritual, God watches over it. If you read in the Bible, Onan was the son of Judah. And while he was sleeping with his wife, he did not want to pregnant her. So she poured out the semen and God watched it and God killed him. You understand what I'm saying? So when you have sex in marriage, it is a good thing. But when you have it outside marriage or when you're masturbating, that means you're doing a spiritual transaction with yourself and other powers and demons will visit you. Most people that end up with masturbation end up getting attacked by spiritual forces. They'll start having sex in their dreams. They'll start having issues with, sex. They'll start having issues with pornography and stuff like that. And when those things eat your soul, it destroys you. It destroys your soul. So that's why I tell people things like masturbation, pornography, and everything. Those are sexual sins. And it's not just a sin for you. It's also a sin that affects your soul. You become one with the entities that are watching you do whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's masturbation or pornography or whatever. So the devil wants human beings to have sex outside marriage, but that's the best way to capture his soul. Because when you sleep with somebody, you become one with them.
It's deep stuff, and this is real stuff. It is a spiritual fight. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stella Immanuel.
Well, guys, Dr. Stella went freaking ham, all right? Hard as a mofo is what that stands for. And if you want to see the whole entire interview uncensored with the truth about the pandemic, you can watch it by going to blazetv.com/primetime and joining today. Please join. We need your support. Now, we had a great episode. Sarah Stock came on, Nick Pope, Dr. Stella Immanuel. We just really had some big-time, prime-time guests. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that appeared on the show. I want to say thank you to all the chat rats in the chat right now. Don't forget to hit that like button. It helps us in the algorithm, and I hate saying that, but we live in a weird world where it's almost just, you have to do it. You have to do it. I got to beg you to hit that like button, because if you don't, our show will not grow unless people will see it. So hit it. And don't quit it. Come back for more. All right, guys, we end the show the same way every time with that freestyle finale. So, DJ, hit that beat. Pimp on a blimp.
walk with a limp. Deontay likes to play. He likes to dance all day. He will go pee in whatever bathroom he sees fit. He will take a piss and will take some shits. All right, I love you guys. Make sure to hit that like button. Hit that like button. Don't hit anything else. Hit that like button. All right, guys, I love you. Peace. Good night.